Let's see what Lorne had to say about the way that he sees the market working now.
It's really interesting. We weren't really intending on doing it. And then we asked the audience, and they kind of voted that they wanted us to do that because we were kind of honest and said we can't really afford to do absolutely brand new stuff. But if we could remake something in a new and quality flavor, what would you want it to be? And the fan base came back and said, redo Abe. And I think what happened is that I think that mobile really brought back side-scrolling because of, the obvious interface constraints and, two thumbs driving game experiences. And then people started going back to these retro types of games that were designed around that 2.5D limitation. And it really surprised me, but people really wanted that. So that was something new for me because typically the game industry was always chasing the chipsets. You know what I mean? Chasing the latest 3D chip, chasing this, chasing that. But it would leave nostalgic games in the dust. And there was this revitalization of a play style that just worked really well on a wider variety of screens. And that led to us doing New and Tasty again after the audience said that's what they wanted us to do.
I have a feeling that the last time we spoke was in something like 2009. And I think at that point you said to me that you were getting out of the games industry because you didn't see a space for a company of the sort of size that you wanted to work with. What's changed?
The big thing that changed is digital distribution. And what that enabled us to do was get our own property onto networks, starting with Steam, and then eventually it was GOG, and then it was PSN, and now it's Xbox and Google and Android. Now it's all over the place. But it started there around 2007, 2008. And what that enabled us to do was basically go directly to the customer. And it also allowed for transparent accounting. Let me give you an example. I was talking to someone the other day who's working in Afghanistan doing digital payment for contractors, where they get automatic, the employees of contractors are getting automatic wire payments into their bank accounts as opposed to getting a check from the manager on the site. And what all the employees were finding was that they were receiving about 40% more pay per week, per paycheck. And the reason was it was cutting out all the corruption in between, And so there's something beautiful about a digital world. When it's a cash world, there's more people in the middle, and all these middlemen taking their gouge, right? So we have retailers, publishers, whatever. And if there's accounting mistakes, they're usually not in your favor as the little developer at the end of the totem pole. And so what happened with digital distribution is it became a largely transparent monitoring of how your sales are going. And Steam is almost in real time and, gives quite a bit of information. And you didn't have that information before on the store shelf. You didn't know who was really buying your game, what country they were coming from. I mean, there was a lot of things you didn't know. Because of the new climate, it's easier to focus on quality. I mean, if we gave a film studio analogy, Pixar focused on quality and decided that they would rather redo a movie from scratch than release a movie that didn't work as well. And they did that on Toy Story 2. In hindsight, you have the most successful film studio in history because it really chose not to compromise what it was offering to the audience. Now, there's a lot of tombstones of people who wanted to go that way too, and they didn't make it. But I think for us, and we do have a legacy, part of that legacy is quality. And part of that legacy is like people love the craftsmanship of care. We appreciate great design. And so we as a brand always tried to strive for this sort of innovative classic design that the audience could tell there was a lot of love and care in the craft of it. And I think that created a certain expectation for what our brand represents. And then I think we had to sustain that even in times of difficulty. Like we couldn't just say, well, let's just do some experiments on the cheap end and see what happens. I think it could have really hurt us. But that idea that if you have a brand that you stick to quality, you are giving something that the customer knows what they're going to get. Like I will go see any Ridley Scott film, even though he's blown a few, story-wise. I mean, I'm still going to go see and hopefully won't be disappointed. But when his craft starts to slip, like I saw in Exodus, it's just that there's no way the man that I know not personally, but as a director could have actually shot that film because it's just that bad. But what that does is that hurts his brand, right? And it hurts the brand in the eyes of the customer. So now we're going to read the reviews before we go see a Ridley Scott film. And before, we just would have blindly seen a Ridley Scott film, at least speaking for myself. And so I think that's what goes to, you have to keep that brand visibility quality there if you can get there in the first place. and you stay true to it, and you stay honest with the audience, because that's what's happening a lot now, right? The audience is listening more to the creators and giving feedback. And so if you stay sincere, even if you're screw-ups and you just go, hey, guys, we just screwed up, sorry. But if you defend bad calls and all that, all those things can backlash against you. If you could establish some possibility of a classics type of status early, then you have the potential to keep on building upon that. But, it's up to you to really nurture that garden, your little garden of property there, right? It's up to you to nurture it, because the world forgets about everything pretty quickly.
Do you feel like this is a very good time to be a small company doing its own thing?
Absolutely. Now, that doesn't mean that there won't be a lot of failures. When we consider that you now have the opportunity where, if you're building something and let's just take it to the extreme, you're a single guy, up in your attic, and you're writing some cool stuff. If you can start to find a small group of people that will start talking about it, and it hooks them, then you can start getting some traction to build a larger audience around it. And you could not do that in the past. This is where it's like, this is massive windows of opportunity. And what we're seeing now, I believe, these small companies that are working on small, little, cool, more innovative IPs that are allowed to take more risks because the financial risk is less, they're going to be the ones that are the huge IPs in 15 years from now. Those are going to be the ones that we see someone else bought, just like Minecraft, starts off small, no one wanted to touch it, everyone passed on World of Tanks, everyone passed on Minecraft, but then after the success, everyone wishes they had it.
Well, that's Lorne Lanning, and we'll see what Mr. Lanning has in store for us next. Hopefully, it might be a new IP. Who can say? It's been quite a busy show this week, and so thanks so much for Peter Willington for joining me.
No problem at all.
On digital and online.
This is BBC Radio 5 Live.
bbc.co.uk/5live.